Hi folks, welcome to Sci-Fi Scavenger, particularly if it's your first time, welcome. Today I'm going to do a haul and I've got almost 80 books to get through. The free sort of massive influx of books that I got from Dave's collection over the last few video hauls has kind of distracted me from the business of processing the books that I find on my regular sort of charity shop trawl. So I've got a bit behind. So because there's 80, I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. I won't linger on too many, except maybe the vintage ones, which are right at the end, saving the best till last, I think. Alrighty, so we'll start with Peter F. Hamilton, Reality Dysfunction. So I'm again guilty of a little bit of sort of eBay book porn and looking at a few things, and I found a set of the whole of the Nightstorm trilogy, one in this sort of ginormous trade paperback and two in the hardback. So that's the first one. Then we've got The Neutronium Alchemist, which, if I remember rightly, yeah, is signed by Peter F. Hamilton. So that's the second one I've picked up. It's a bit random, but it's in okay condition actually. It's not got any spine lean to speak of. The cover's in pretty tidy condition. There's a bit of scuffing on here, but signed first edition of that. Naked Gun, which is maybe a little bit more shelf worn, but you know, another big fat doorstop, but it's in okay condition. Oh, in fact, you know, I would say probably good, probably not quite very good. The spine is a little bit baggy and the cover is a bit squished at the top where it's just not been on the book properly. So that I think there's one or two of his books that I'm missing, but I've got nearly all of his books in hardback now, I think. And I got, because I was upset that my copy didn't match the two recent acquisitions of books 2 and 3 in the series, I bought, because I saw it in the wild, one that does match. So now I will ditch the non-matching version. And then I had book 3 of the Baroque cycle, but I found in two different shopping expeditions, I found books 1 and 2. Quicksilver and the Confusion. I think Confusion is the first one, maybe? I don't know, actually I forget, but one of them is book 1 and the other one is book 2. But anyway, the important thing is I now have the full set. They're both in very nice condition for a softback. The Confusion doesn't have any creasing or bending at all in the spine, and this one just has a bit of creasing. It's inevitable, I think, in those fat books, unless you're super careful when you read them. So 2 or 3 weeks back I was in Oxford because we were going to the theatre, and I managed to slip in a trip to a couple of the Oxfam bookshops that there are in Oxford, and one or two other charity shops as well. And I found this one, I think in a British Heart Foundation, Under the Dome, hardback. I wouldn't ordinarily buy Stephen King hardbacks, although I did get It the other week. But this is, I think, classed as science fiction. You know, a dome suddenly appears over a town. Good enough for me, and it was £3.50 for a first edition Stephen King, so you know, why wouldn't I? And again, a couple of weeks back, I found this sort of massive trade paperback style double bill of Mordaunt's Need, which has 2 books in it, Mirror of Her Dreams and A Man Rides Through, which I enjoyed very much when I read it many years ago. And then just a week or two later, I found this, probably in an Oxfam bookshop, which is the original, it's first edition of, I think it's part 2, yeah, part 2 of Mordaunt's Need. So I've been looking out for part 1. I'm sure it will turn up. You can get them on eBay for sort of 7 or 8 quid, including postage, so that is a tempting proposition, but so far I have resisted. I don't know for how long I'll be able to do that. Then I found a Robert Rankin novel in hardback, which I got just because it was only £1 or something, and it was it's called The Witches of Chiswick, obvious play on The Witches of Eastwick. I don't know anything about it, but apparently he's a sort of pound shop Terry Pratchett is how somebody described him. They're sort of tongue-in-cheek, kind of supposedly quite fast-paced comedy books, but I don't know. All right, so the next bunch, which I will whip through quickly because I really don't know anything about them, I got from via Freegal. I posted a wanted ad on our local sort of Freegal or Free Cycle site saying, you know, basically if you have any old science fiction that you no longer want, I'll happily take them off your hands. And I've had much to my surprise, 5 people over the last month and a half come back to me and say, well, yeah, I do. The first one was just 2 books. The second one was about 25 books. The third one was an offer of a bunch of Ian Banks books, which I declined because I have them all. And then, although why that stopped me, I don't know. But I didn't feel the need to take those off his hands. And then Dave's massive 275 book library, which I just finished dealing with. And then just the other day, I got an email from a lady who lives just around the corner saying that she was moving house. She had a bunch of Anne McCaffrey books that she wanted to get rid of, and did I want to take them off her hand? So of course I said sure thing. So one or two of them I have from Dave's library. In fact, I had maybe 7 or 8 Anne McCaffreys of different flavours from his library. So these are nearly all the sort of Dragon Riders of Pern in its many permutations and combinations, and I don't know which order they go in. So in fact the first one is not a Dragon Riders one. It's a get off my unicorn is the first one, Get Off the Unicorn. And then I've got a hardback of all the weirds of I don't know, whatever that is, of Pern, a hardback, first edition, for what it's worth. And then we've got Dragon Song, which I think no, it's not. Don't know where that fits in the overall scheme of things. There's also about 30 books in the series. I've no idea, and I also don't know if they're any good or will appeal to me at all. But I have them now, so what the fuck. And then I've got a trade of Red Star Rising, which is a more recent one, I think. Skies of Pern, the Master Harper of Pern, no less. And then The White Dragon, which I think is one of the original trilogy, maybe book 2 or book 3 of the original trilogy. And you can see they're all in pretty good condition. They're all kind of 80s, I think, of the older books anyway, 80s. Prince Dragonflight. Dragon's Dawn. There's quite a lot of dragon action going on here. Dragon Drums. I wonder if they have dragon guitar, dragon bass, and a dragon lead singer as well. Dolphins of Pern. They've got dolphins, and not enough with the dragons. They've got to involve the sea mammals as well now. So Dolphins of Pern. Dragon Singer, Harper of Pern. Dragon Quest, The Further Adventures of Pern. And then Marita, Dragon Lady of Pern. They better be good, otherwise they're just occupying shelf space. Renegades of Pern, that's a trade paperback style. So those are all the Pern books. I now have, I don't know, 25 of them, so which will take up almost the entire shelf just by themselves. So whether they justify their shelf occupancy remains to be seen. I should probably read 1 or 2 of them fairly soon to find out if I like them. But we'll see. Those I picked up for free, so no harm, no foul. We shall see. Right, next up is a couple of Michael Crichton's. There's another one somewhere too, but can't put my hand on it at the moment. There is the Andromeda Strain, one of his first books, if not his actually first book. I've seen the movie a long time ago, but that's not a first edition. I don't think it dates from the 80s, I think. Yeah, actually 1993. So that's a long time after it was published. And then we've got Prey by Michael Crichton, which, if I remember rightly, is about clouds of nanoparticles. And then in that recent visit to Oxford, I picked up a Christopher Priest, The Separation. And then, way back when, I got this Elizabeth Moon double bill. It's an omnibus with 2 books in it, and there are 6 in total in this Serrano series. And on different trips to the Oxfam bookshop in Woodley, I found books 2 and books 3, which is also where I got book 1. So I think they were just kind of drip feeding them onto the shelves. They must have quite a stock of sci-fi in their back room. So that's the whole set. I don't know if they're worthy of reading, but I'm mainly pleased to have the full set. That's quite a good thing. And I was very happy, big smiley face, to find this recently. I had this exact, well, a book that looked very much like this when I was in my teens. I very much enjoyed it. It's a sort of asteroid strike gig, so Lucifer's Hammer is what it's called, by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle, Masters of Disaster, and it's pretty good. Shit goes down, the comet hits the planet, the world ends, and it's about people trying to survive in the aftermath of that. And there's quite a bit, if I remember rightly, of the sort of the run up to that and people's preparations for it and so on and so forth. And so of course all the kind of psycho disaster preppers were ready for it, and then nobody else was. I found Arthur C. Clarke 2010 Odyssey 2, which I have read but don't have a copy of, and then 3001 The Final Odyssey, which I don't remember if I've read or not. Unfortunately, this is I think once it's squished on the shelves, maybe it will recover, but it's got a bit bent at some point in the process. Right, let me put these down and we'll get on to the next pile. So, I've got one of these already, it's a Greybeard. There's another Brian Aldiss in the House of Stratus kind of livery, which is quite nice. They're quite nice books. But as I said the other day, the annoying thing is that they insist on putting the writing the wrong way round. I think, yeah, it's like a... Books normally have their writing on spine going in that direction, and these ones have it going in the opposite direction. So as I said the other day, you either have to live with it being in the opposite direction, or you have to have it upside down to have it going in the right direction, but then it's upside down, and that's equally bad. So I don't know. Anyway, so I think this is a short story collection. Yes. 24 short stories. Pretty chunky tome in nice quality paper. Very nice. And then, as you saw from the sneak preview just now, this was from a bookshop in Oxford called The Last Bookshop. I think it's in Jericho, and it was opened at a time when it seemed all the independent bookshops were closing. And it has a mix of new books and remaindered stock, and occasionally some second-hand book. But the ones that I got from there were like this, remaindered stock. So that's Christopher Priest, The Evidence. And then I got this one, Gwyneth Jones, Castles Made of Sand. Don't know anything about that. And then I was very happy to find in, I think, somewhere like the British Heart Foundation shop in Oxford when I was there, a Claire North, The End of the Day. I think that's my first Claire North book. I've been looking out for them, not found any. She's the author of the first 15 Lives of Harry August. There's a few William Gibsons here. Let me just fish them out, actually. Yeah, so I found a copy of Neuromancer, which I didn't notice at the time. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a tear in the back cover that it's already been given a sellotape repair. But never mind, it's a good reading copy. And then today I found Burning Chrome, which are short stories, I believe, 10 of them. And then I found The Peripheral, which I'd never heard of until I saw the TV series, which I quite enjoyed. So I'm interested to read the book, see how that differs from the telly show. And I found Cory Doctorow, what's it say? Radicalised. So there's 4 novellas in there. I made the mistake of adding him to my to following him on Twitter, and boy is he a prolific tweeter and retweeter. My feed is 80% Cory Doctorow originated now, so I might have to mute him. I found these are from today, actually. So John Varley, got a couple of his books. There's Titan, a nice clean copy. I'm not sure from when. I would guess 80s. 1979, so first edition, in really tidy condition. A little bit of scrapes on the bottom, but nothing too tragic. And then I picked this up thinking it was a Discworld novel, but it isn't. It's one of his standalones, The Dark Side of the Sun. Never mind. And then I thought I had this, so I almost didn't get it, but I checked my magic spreadsheet of books that I possess, and it's not on there, so I don't think I do. So Alfred Bester, Stars My Destination, never read that, looking forward to it. Another one I'm looking forward to, which I also thought I might have, but I don't until now, is Way Station by Clifford Simak, a classic. It's not a especially interesting copy, and neither is the Alfred Bester, but they will do perfectly adequately until I find a vintage copy. I'm slowly building up my copy of the Witcher book series. I've got books 1, the prequels, short stories, and book 1, and this is book 4. I only know them from the TV series, so I can't claim any great intelligence about those. Right, and the remaining sort of 20 odd are all, I think, what I call vintage. So there was a bunch of Arthur C. Clarke's that I found in, where were they? I think the Oxfam bookshop in Woodley again, my local one. Certainly this one was from today. It's Prelude to Space. It's in really tidy condition. There's nothing wrong with it. It's got no wear. It's got a tiny crease on the front cover there, just next to the spine. That is from 1977. And then we've got, in the same New English Library livery, is Sands of Mars. Nice copy, tidy. I would guess that's mid-70s as well. Yeah, 1976, it's a reprint. And then Rama. I've got a copy of Rendezvous with Rama, but I think it's one of the black spine sci-fi masterworks, SF masterworks rather. So I've got this now in a pan. So I have 2 of those. And then there's a few, 4 in fact, pan lozenge, so called because of the shape of the title and author block. So as you see, Fall of Midas, that's my 3rd copy of that book. Some might argue is excessive. And then I have Childhood's End, which I've never read and don't have a copy of, so that's my first and only copy of that so far. And then we've got The Deep Range, again in the lozenge. Interestingly, that one and the previous one only have the name, Arthur C. Clarke in the lozenge, not the title. I don't know why that is. Perhaps so it doesn't obscure the image. Yeah, so I don't know anything about that one. A Terrifying Nightmare in Outer Space. Although that looks like it's underwater, so I don't know what that's about. And then another one that I thought I might already have but don't is Earthlight, again in the lozenge, in pretty good condition. And I found last weekend, I think, Foundation and Empire in the Oxfam bookshop in Woodley, which seems to have a pretty reliable turnaround. I mean, obviously they don't clear all their shelves, but there's enough to make it worth going on a weekly basis, it seems. So Foundation and Empire. So I've been trying to replace my, or add to, not replace, because I'm not going to get rid of them, my 80s copies that I had since I was a kid, and looking for the Chris Foss covers. So this is the 3rd one. I've got the Foundation, 2nd Foundation, and now Foundation and Empire, so I'm doing okay for those. And then there's 3 Ray Bradburys, Something Wicked This Way Comes, which I do have a copy of, but not in this wacky livery. In fact, the one that I've got is a very recent, quite dull printing. So that's cool. And then in matching livery from Corgi Books is The Illustrated Man, renowned and well-known book by Mr. Bradbury. And then lastly, one that I hadn't heard of, Machineries of Joy. So good to have that in a matching set, if you like. Don't know why that appeals so much. And then there are several John Wyndhams. So there's Chucky, which I don't have a copy of at all. And then the Midwich Cuckoos, which again I don't have a copy of. So that's in the matching Penguin livery. Then there's another, Consider Her Ways, which is short stories. Again, matching the other 2. And then the Chrysalids, which I do have a copy of, but I bought this because it was a matching set with the others. And then one that I'd not heard of, Sleepers of Mars. And then, like an idiot, in the same purchase, I bought a 2nd copy of Consider Her Ways and Other Stories. And I bought this because it's in the same livery as several other John Wyndham books that I've got. So I'm well on my way to collecting 2 entire sets of John Wyndham stories, which some might argue is unnecessary. And we have another sort of John Bainan, I'm not sure which way around it is, if John Bainan is a nom de plume, or if John Wyndham is a nom de plume, I'm not sure. But he published some stories way back when in the 30s under the name John Bainan. So that's a reissue of Stowaway to Mars, his second full-length novel, apparently. And we've made pretty damn good progress here, going through all of these. So there's another stainless steel rat. I got a bunch of these in the mystical Dave's Library influx that I got, but not this one, so that's new to me. That's in very good condition, nothing wrong with it. It'll be a 1980s reprint, I should imagine. Yeah, 1988. Then there's two Philip K. Dick's, Time Out of Joint. I've got a very recent printing of this a couple of weeks ago, so happy to have a Penguin science fiction. It is a little bit tatty, to be honest, but Sailor Gare. And also a nicer copy of Man in the High Castle. That's a pretty cool cover. The one that I've got, I think, is a recent edition with the swastikas on the American flag instead of the stars. And then finally, which I did feel a bit sheepish about, so I went to the Oxfam bookshop week before, must have been last week, and I took a carrier bag full of books that I was donating because they were duplicates that I'd replaced for one reason or another with influxes either from Dave's library or from spotting a better version in the wild. So I was taking back the crappy old Lensman books that I had, that I bought in my first haul, that were a bit rubbish, that I'd replaced with nicer Panther science fiction editions. And in the same visit, I found some even better ones. So first Lensman I was actually missing, so I didn't have that one at all, so I didn't feel at all bad about buying that. It's a Granada, must be from the 80s, I would think. 79, in fact. So that's good, and it's in pretty tidy condition. And then maybe I'll be able to compare and contrast in a minute. But then I found there were three others there of ones that I already have. This is the one I picked up most recently, Children of the Lens. It is in very shiny, nice condition. It's a 1979 reprint. Nothing wrong with it. Minor chipping or scuffing at the bottom where it's just from shelf wear, and the back's in good condition as well. And then the one that I only recently got that caused me to send my original copies back. This one is the one that I'm now replacing. So that one is just got a bit more wear and tear on it. It's not quite as clean, and it's got a bit of nonsense on the bottom there. So it got to live on my shelves for a matter of a couple of weeks, and now it's being kicked into touch by a much cleaner version of itself. To be fair to the older one, it is from 1973, it's a reprint, and this one is from 1979, so, you know, it's a bit more youthful, but still. And then Masters of the Vortex, this is the tidy copy that I just bought. A tiny bit of wear on the bottom there, compared to this one, which is a bit kind of scruffy in comparison. So, you know, it's got some tears on it, that's a bit dog-eared. This one is very clean. The very clean copy is from 1978. And the mucky one that I'm getting rid of is from 1973. Interesting. It is, in fact, it's a paperback first edition. I'm not sure I really give a shit about that. And it's in crappy condition, so it can go. And then, in actual fact, the copy of Grey Lensman that I most recently picked up is not in much better condition than the one that I already had, although this one is a bit bent. And, you know, it's not as crisp and tidy as that one. The new one that I've just got is from 1979, a bit like the others. And this one is also from 1979, so I don't feel bad about that at all. So, although these have only cost me £1.99, they've really cost me nearly £6, because I bought one copy of this and took it back because I replaced it with another copy, this one, which I've now replaced with an even tidier one. So I think the lesson of this, which I will probably fail to learn, is don't bother buying tatty looking copies of books, because nicer, neater ones will turn up and you're just wasting your money. That's all very well, but there is the dilemma, obviously. Yeah, but what if they don't? What if they don't turn up? What if I never get them again? What if that's my only opportunity to own this book? So I don't know whether I'll heed that lesson or not, but there it is. So that's everything from this haul. So I've whipped through that. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you particularly like the look of, or that you'd recommend that I bump up my TBR pile. I'll be very happy to hear from you. But we're going to leave this one there. So thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.